welcome all. Thank you for making the time to come on a Sunday. My name is Andrew Sandoval, born and raised here in the city of Salinas with my 4 kids and my wife for many, many years, Ruthie. I was a local business owner for many years in Northridge Mall. I used to have a business called Bell's Vital for 15 years. And I was born and raised here. I love my community. I think it's a great place to live. I think there's a lot of potential in our community. So just want to share some of the exciting things that are going on. I don't know if you guys seen, but Veranda Road is going to be widened to 4 lanes. So we've started construction on that. There's going to be a roundabout in front of McKinnon. There's supposed to be roundabouts and widening all the way down to Williams Road. So that's something exciting. San Juan Grade Road, if you used to drive it there, it was like a pothole nightmare. My first month in office, that was one of my goals, is to get that repaved. Actually, some of my friends ended up having their tire busted on that road. I found out later. Welcome. And so we managed to get that, and the stretch of veranda in between Food Max and Main Street. We also repaired that. In District 5, which is the district on this side of Main Street, all the way to the Rossi Rico area, all the way to Russell Road. For the first time ever, we actually have more infrastructure money for our streets and sidewalks. This last year combined, we have more than the previous 3 years combined. So there's more investment in this area than there ever has been. We recently passed hiring incentives for the Salinas Police Department. We started off with an amount that the chief brought forward to us, and then when he thought it was necessary, he recommended we double that amount. We recently approved that. We also approved base pay for new recruits to try to recruit more officers. And I think maybe this was the fastest contract we ever approved with the Salinas Police Department Association. I think it only took us a couple months. They came to the table, and within a couple months we approved it unanimously. We also painted the lines over Laurel Bridge. Now somebody thinks, what's the big deal with lines over Laurel Bridge? But there was a lot of seniors who couldn't see on those because there was no lines. And you wouldn't believe what a task it was to get that project done. It turns out it's not the city who owns the bridge, so we have to get permits from Caltrans. And so one day I ran into our Caltrans representative and I said, what is taking so long? And he goes, well, I can help push it through. So for me, just getting those lines painted, the things that really affect residents, was a big deal. Vallarta Market. I don't know if you've all been to Vallarta Market over here off of West Davis, North Davis. When I got elected, one of the first calls I got was actually from Vallarta Market. And I remember it was a Zoom meeting, and I think one of the first questions they asked was, does Salinas want us to come? You know, does Salinas want new businesses? And I said, well, tell me what's going on. And one of their concerns was that the permitting process was taking too long. They shared that across California, they've never struggled as much as Salinas to open up a business here. So I met with them several times. I connected them with our city staff, and I followed up with our city staff to make sure their project moved along so they could open when they needed to. Sadly, if you look at the original sketches, which I'll share online, one of my next posts, the original sketches for Vallarta Market was a beautiful painting, a beautiful location and color. And unfortunately, because of some city regulations, they weren't able to actually create the store that they wanted. And one of the reasons is because it's part of a shopping center, and the rest of the shopping center kind of looks really ugly, but since it's attached, they wanted it to match that area, which didn't make sense to me, because it shouldn't match what's been there for 40 years that just hasn't been updated. So we got them open. They had an amazing grand opening, and I think people from all around Monterey County actually come to Vallarta Market. We had a recent District 5 cleanup. That's where the city partners with Republic Services, where you can dump your trash for free. And we held it at Northridge Mall, and I'm proud to say, due to our advertising on social media, we actually had the most cars of any district show up, 230 cars to throw away their trash for free. We also educated people, like, just so you all know, you can actually call Republic Services and they'll come pick up big bulky items from you for free once a year. So I think it's up to like 7 or 10 trash bags. So if you have a big old party, you can actually call them and they'll come and pick up one time a year for free. Most people don't know that. So those are some of the exciting things. We also got a dog park approved for District 5. It's going to be off of Cherokee, but a dog park. It'll be a nice fenced off area where dogs can be free and there's not poop all over our park, but they'll have a designated spot. We also got swings. I'm really excited. I was at a community meeting, I think it was last year, and a lot of kids were playing at the park and they were like, well, what's going on? So they came and they sat there, and so I said, well, what do you want to see in your community? And they said, all we want is swings. And one girl drew a little picture of swings, and so luckily this last year I was able to get swings into our budget for Santa Rita Park, one of our smaller parks. So I'm really excited. So they'll be surprised when they see that. We've also funded trees for residents. Look, the reality is trees getting planted by the city of Salinas takes forever. And we do have an adopt-a tree program, but we are just so backed up with our backlog that I was able to get $5,000 for Sustainable Salinas, an organization where you can call them and sign up for a free tree, and then you can plant it in your own property. So that's a really cool thing. We've also improved our permit center, I think more than ever before. One of our #1 concerns we had was our permit center is so difficult to navigate. Well, this last year we approved more people, more staff for the permit center. We've had to outsource some jobs because we got a lot of homes coming so they could be built a little quicker. And I met with some of the developers for that area, and one of the fathers said, Councilmember Sandoval, I want to share with you that for the first time in 40 years we felt welcomed. We felt like they were actually trying to help us, and we see potential in our project. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. And we have amazing new staff members there who want to help residents. So that's really encouraging for me. And so we also recently approved a new development for the first time, I think, in 20 years. We approved a new development that's going to be over there off of Veranda in the area, I want to say Hemingway. 1,600 new homes. Wow. So that's really exciting. A lot of people don't know that, but 1,600 new homes. And one thing that the City Council has a vote on, which we requested come up this next year, is the amount of affordable housing that is allocated from each project. And so we wanted to look at that to see if we can pass something that says a bigger percentage of those homes being built will go to affordability.
So before I know you're giving a summary of what you did. Define affordable housing, because I know, you and I've known each other years, and we've been hearing, just like I think a lot of community, affordable housing. What does that mean? I mean, I'm looking at helping buyers because I have connections with lenders, realtors and stuff, and affordable housing to me isn't when they build it up, are they just allotting like back off of Hemingway. I owned a home over there in the cottage. I think it was called the Cottages. It's like every little cul-de-sac has 5 or 6 houses, and one house out of every 20 was an affordable house. And even back then, it wasn't affordable. You know what I mean? So who sets the criteria? But is there a pricing of what they consider affordable housing? Does it mean they get better interest rates? Lower price, of course, better interest rates. I know that some of the cottages homes that were affordable houses, they were completely stripped down, no bells and whistles, which is fine. I mean, if a person wants to live somewhere, it was a brand new house, but I've seen them where they were literally the basic of the basics in there. But once again, what is the criteria for affordable housing? Because I hear it left and right. I drive up Abbott and John Street all the time. Those aren't affordable houses to me. I helped a gal move all her stuff in and asked her how much she was paying, and she goes $2,000 something for a 2-bedroom. And I'm just saying, to me, that isn't affordable being in this community for 30, owning homes and doing stuff in the community for 30 plus years.
Yeah, so the City Council sets the amount of affordable housing that gets built per subdivision, but you're right. I don't quote me on the numbers, but I think it might be like 15 out of every 100 homes is affordable. Now, it's not enough, and you already know. Angel already answered his own question. Affordable to who? Well, the City Council sets that, but what's happened is, let me just give you an example. There was an affordable housing facility built, or is getting built, but those units are only going to be rented to Section 8 voucher holders, which is great. But we already know that the wait list for Section 8 voucher holders is huge. And how about those families are in between the gaps, so they won't be, they won't have access to those. So there are a lot of gaps and exclusions that people can do in order to still provide affordable housing, but it's not enough. And I'll have to look to what the actual percentage of the cost of the homes is, but that is not going to be set by the city. I know that it's probably going to be based on the median home price at the time, but I'll get back to you.
And the reason I ask that is I feel a lot of developers, even when I was looking to invest in Imjin Road and all that, they take advantage of that affordable housing. You guys as a council in the city give them incentives, a lot of price breaks and stuff like that. And when push comes to shove, I mean, if you ask me, 15 houses out of 100, that's, you know, kind of, you know, it's not fair. To me, it's not fair.
Yeah, and so piggyback on that, so let's say there's 1,000 homes, right? And they're required to build 150. There was nothing in there that says those 150 have to be built, you know, at the same, you know, Yeah. So if they build 10 homes, right, you know, they don't have to build that one home when they build the 10 homes.
Yes.
That is not a thing. So technically, those developers could just wait till the very end of their development, which could take 10 years to build those affordable houses. But look at the 1,600 units. I'm really excited because in this case, the developer, which is Hugh Bickle, actually worked with housing advocates, and they negotiated and they actually signed an agreement that they would simultaneously be building affordable homes as their development is going. Now that is not something that the city could enforce, but that developer, I think, was historic that he even made that offer and negotiated with the housing advocates. So there's a lot. Affordable to who is still an issue, right? And just to piggyback on that, obviously for many years the city council is the one who decides even what percentage of. Now I'm really optimistic that our new city council will also continue that conversation about upping that amount of affordable housing, because we've heard developers say things like, well, it doesn't pencil out. That's cool. I guarantee you already know what Angel's gonna ask. But where are the numbers? Like, does it really not pencil out? Or, you know, where's the budget? Show us where it's coming from. And unfortunately, those discussions, they just don't happen. And
they happen behind.
Oh, they happen.
And you brought up a good point, and I'm glad this little forum is here. Once again, us as voters and as residents, we fall for that. A lot of them that don't educate yourselves with meeting with a council person like Andrew and stuff, you'll catch the catchphrases, affordable housing, you know, gonna be this. Those are little catchphrases, but when you look at it, now we know. I always thought it was required for, if they said they were gonna build 15 out of 100, that they would be simultaneously built, but it makes a lot of sense as a builder. Yeah, we're gonna do it. As soon as the 85 are done, we'll probably do it, you know, or not probably as you.
yes.
I wanted to say thank you for the question and the conversation, but I know we're very limited on time, and I know we're here to support you with the recall, so I would like to get to that as soon as we could, and maybe not, that's great, I think what he's talking about, but maybe at another meeting on, but I'd like to hear more of your, that you've done, because you've done a lot of great things, and I think that's what you were sharing.
Well,
if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, no, that's fine, but the issue about affordable housing, actually, I think probably has a lot to do with the recall. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, look, it's not a secret, people raise campaign funds, and often, I think like this election, whoever raises the most campaign funds can reach the most residents. And so, yeah, I'm sure you can look on the reports, which are public record, about who contributed to whose campaign, and I'm hoping, and I'm gonna say optimistic, that those people will make the right decision. But yes, in the past, developers have funded a lot of these campaigns. So, you know, people usually support people who have their interest in mind. So I'm hopeful that that's not the case, but yeah, we can field questions about that. But that's a little bit about what's going on. I will touch now about the recall, and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions. First, I'd like to say that I respect everyone's decision to do a recall, whether they think their electeds are doing a bad job or justified. That's democracy. So, you know, everybody has that right. That's why it's written in there. For me, I was really caught off guard because, one, the lead proponent of this recall, Mr. Tyler Barola, has actually never had a conversation with me. He's never sent me an email. He's never expressed concern. Yes, sir.
Could you give us a little background about him? Because you know how much I do. I've never ran into him, so.
Yeah, so I've only met him, I think, maybe twice. He used to work for Congressman Jimmy Panetta's office. I think he used to do facilitate resident requests or something like that. I know he's on our Salinas Planning Commission. He's the mayor's representative. I think he's on the Housing Commission. He's Luis Alejo's representative, I believe, on that. I haven't really had much interaction with him. I know he's been involved politically. And actually, he also works for the Veterans Transition Center, is my understanding, based off of his LinkedIn, somebody shared with me.
And that's what I'm amazed, you know, I'm very involved with that to not run in, you know, not know who he is. So.
Right, and like I said, I'd really like that opportunity to have the conversation with him to see what I believe is really this is based on, because we are making such great progress in our district. Like I said, the most infrastructure ever. I know my colleague, you know, like I had posted in one of my videos, you know, said that his district was going to be gutted. But really, we know that there's areas across Salinas that have been neglected. And so like I said, the goal is to make everybody fair, you know, to the same level of payment. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, like I said, people may not like the fact that they can't have the same pool they used to, but it's fair for everybody. And the fact that after we analyzed our roads, District 5 North Salinas actually was classified as having the worst roads. Some people are going to see that as shocking. They're going to say, well, what about the east side? Well, don't worry. Councilmember Barrera's district is number 2. And there's different metrics for it, but for the first time ever, they actually analyzed the roads instead of just basing road repair off of just complaints. But anyways, that's a little bit about the main proponent. I would love for him to have a conversation with me. I had this open meeting, and I'm going to have more at the parks and just give folks the opportunity, because unfortunately, you know what makes me sad is that people don't communicate like this anymore.
And do you feel if you reached out or some of your people reached out that he would actually attend? Because that would tell a lot about the correct credibility of what he's pulling through. And I know you had posted a video saying that they had 7 days to properly file some other papers and they failed to do that. And if it's in your realm, can you cover what's going on with that? So he has to redo the signatures and everything, just like it's a new recall proposal?
So that's my understanding, that it says completely start over. Now, whether he's legally required to resubmit this, collect new signatures, I'm not sure. But what I can share with you is that we did reach out to some of the proponents, and some proponents were not told they were signing to be initial proponents of a recall. They were just told that the roads were not getting repaired. There's people who are not doing things for the community, and you know, we need to get them out.
And then if you've been on social media just this morning on the Crime Watch page, they were saying something about either you yourself directly or people that represent you have been knocking on doors and bullying, and have you read that? It's a pretty long string. That you guys are knocking on doors, bullying the people that signed it, so on and so forth.
Right. So, just like any election, there's canvassing. So, I'm going to put somebody on the spot, because initially when we had phone conversations with 2 of the proponents who we happen to know, and they told us, you know what, we didn't even know we were doing this. They just told us this.
They were signing.
They didn't even mention my name. So I thought, well, we could reach out to them, give them some information, share, offer to meet, and have a discussion. So I'm going to put somebody on the spot. You know, there's a couple people who are helping to kind of spread the truth and give people an opportunity. Like I said, even in the letter that I submitted to the residents, I completely respect their decision to recall me. Whatever they decide, I'd at least like the opportunity to address their concerns. So I'm going to put somebody on the spot. Janie, can you come on up? Janie is one of our walkers who's helping me just make sure the voters are informed. Could you share kind of a little bit about what you do when you go to the door and what our goal is with that to make sure that they're informed?
I brought a packet, which is what we're going up to the people who have signed the original recall. They signed the original recall, so we're going up to the houses. We've hit, oh gosh, one night we hit 6. Yesterday I did another 6. Still have quite a few more to go, but For the most part, we're just asking them, we understand that you signed off on a recall for Andrew Sandoval. Do you understand what that's all about? Were you left any paperwork? Did they explain what it was all about? Or did you just sign it blindly? We're here to rectify that, and we want to give you a copy of the actual recall, what it's all about. And then we want, inside is a letter from Andrew with his rebuttal explaining, okay, this is, different from what the recall says. And then,
And was there information, the people that were gathering the signatures?
None of them were left anything.
And once again, it tells you.
Yeah, no one was left anything.
Okay.
All they were told is, they didn't even mention it was a recall. They said, well, the streets aren't getting done. Would you like to have them get done? Would you like to have them get done? Here, sign here, and we'll get that going for you. So the people that we've met with already, and we were not, I'm not a loud person, I don't scream yell. But and neither are the other two ladies that we went with.
Right.
And we were very respectful. We heard from them. We explained what was going on. And we have a sheet which we left with them, and it asked them, were you provided this? Were you given this? Did you know about this? And if you were not, here's a chance to sign off, and we can either come pick it back up later, or now we turn envelopes which we'll leave with them so that if they want to do it, they're not feeling pressured. We're not forcing them to do anything. We leave them the packet with them. I had one lady yesterday, the first lady that I went to, and she didn't even want to talk about it. She didn't want to even touch the envelope. No, don't give it to me, don't give it to me. But other than that, I was very respectful and said, no worries, you don't want to do that, but we're just here trying to help you understand what's going on. But, go ahead.
Andrew, so legally, are they supposed to leave them something?
So,
Well, just so that they at least know why they're signing the form. They didn't even know
No,
why they
but
were
legally,
signing
I
it.
mean, I'm saying, okay, so once they send that form back, if they didn't get anything, they're saying, I didn't receive anything, but are they supposed to or no?
there's no legal requirement. So there is election code that says you're not allowed to circulate a petition with false or misleading information. Now, here's the thing. What they were circulating was not technically a petition. What they were circulating is an intent to circulate a petition. So what they did is they're asking the people, hey, you want to sign up, and do you agree to all these statements that are being made? Because you're going to stand publicly and say, this is what this guy
So
did.
in brief, what does that form say?
Which one? The
The one that
attachment?
you're leaving, that they
Oh,
can
well,
sign. and turn in.
inside is a personal letter from Andrew to each person.
So does that take their name off the list?
Oh,
If
yes.
they turn that in?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This one.
Yeah.
But inside is all the documentation for the recall.
Thank you.
Because a lot of them didn't get anything.
And so what we were told is they weren't even shown a copy of the intent to recall.
Right.
And what is worrisome for us, and like I said, I respect their right, but imagine, you signed a paper because you think that your roads are not getting repaired, and then all of a sudden, you're on the newspaper because they have to publish your name and address. And you're
They could
standing.
be your supporters.
And,
Yes.
yeah, and actually, that actually happened to somebody. So I feel bad because people shouldn't take advantage of voters. Like I said, I respect their right, but if you were duped into signing this and all of a sudden your name and address is published in the newspaper, published in the media's gonna have access to it.
The backlash could be crazy because people will say, I can't believe, and then you're like, I didn't even know it. Then they told me they're gonna fix the parks and the roads and
Yes.
give me free candy canes every year,
Yes.
who knows what they said, so.
And imagine the media showing up to your house and saying, hey, you signed this, and so you're leading the charge on this, you believe all this stuff? That is sad. So our goal is only to give them the information, offer to meet, and just have a conversation. But look, here's the reality, folks. I'll take your question right now. Just like I appreciate all of you taking the time to meet, I posted it everywhere. I'll continue to post it. I encourage you to invite your friends. All too often, our political situation right now is only social media messaging instead of having a real conversation. There are people on those pages who have reached out to me for meetings. I gladly said yes, and I followed up. Unfortunately, there's no response. There's some people leading the charge on social media who've reached out to me for help for their own issues. And as a council member, it's still my responsibility to address them. And of course, I'm still gonna continue. But let's have a conversation, community, and let's really see what's going on. And that's been a little bit of frustrating for me is the unwillingness to have an open dialogue.
And the letter inside that Andrew prepared does have his phone number at the bottom, and I think at the top, if I'm not mistaken. And I encourage the homeowners, feel free to reach out to Andrew. If I didn't answer anything correctly, Andrew will get back to you. All you have to do is make a call. He is your first contact.
Yes.
So, I'm already seeing on the social media that I know are falsehoods because I know you and I know the people who are helping you, including me, that your tactic to respond to this is to bully. So you've been pegged as somebody who's a bully and you're sending out people like you and I who are bullying. So we've seen this, right, this whole election, we've seen this happen to other candidates, except you. You know, that slander, how do you plan on tackling that?
Can I say something? If you read the string, unfortunately, it can't be slandered because someone gave their opinion. So it could have been one person, even as nice as you guys are, and as long as I've known Andrew and as genuine nice he is, if someone feels offended in some kind of way, what can you do? Then once they posted that string, that's why I felt to drop everything I was doing today to make sure and come here. You know, the girl, two of the main administrators, I actually just private messaged them. I said, you know, I know Andrew personally, so you guys keep putting this crud out, right? Why don't you meet up with him or a representative and get a statement? And I think just with that packet alone, which I'm sure you guys will leave on the table and everyone could read it, and just signifying that the people that were signing the so-called recall, it wasn't even a recall, it's a pre-recall saying, hey, would you support me, would you support this, is what Andrew was saying, if we did an actual full recall. And I think a lot of those people that signed that didn't even know that. And I'm sure that misunderstandings happened or whatever, but once again, I know the two administrators very well. I reached out to one that I actually went to grade in high school together, and I said, you know, you guys gotta stop putting out this garbage, even though they're trying to be fair by saying, we're only putting this, and I'm asking them, don't put it out there. Wait till they're both, you get spoken to, and even the person that gave their opinion, which they won't name, you know, who said that. And unfortunately on the pages, that's just how it ran. You know, there's 33,000 people on that Crime Watch page. It only takes one or two persons that felt you bothered them while they were cooking dinner, you know what I mean, or something, and they don't feel bullied. Well, it is kind of turning biased is what I see, but yeah.
First of all, they're not being fair, okay? It's garbage what they're printing on there about Andrew Sandoval. And secondly, what they're doing to voters in his district, they're misleading people to get enough signatures to recall him, okay?
Right.
That's what they're going to continue to do. That's what they're going to continue to do because that's what they did in the campaign against Kerry, against other three people who ran, who we supported in the November election. They're going to continue to do that because they feel empowered and they feel like they have the people behind them to do that. Okay, they're going to continue to do it, and what we have to do, we have to tell they're wrong, they're misleading people, and work very hard to defeat them because they're going to not stop what they're doing.
Chago?
Andrew, we all have an idea of this move based on what we already know, right? For those who don't know, do you see as part of this, you know, in this effort, like a handout that we can have prepared or ready, be like, this is actually the story, this is how it's broken down, this is why, right, that If we could point to something that, well, this is the why, you know, because it's all documented, we all know that, you know. You've been very transparent. If there's something there, like a little, either printed or even on your Instagram or Facebook, is that?
So we worked on a letter, kind of a rebuttal letter. You know, my request for you know, Tyler would be, you know, he makes some very serious accusations in there. And I think what I would ask him to do is to provide the proof to those accusations. I think there was a post where my wife commented on one of his posts. One of his accusations is that I file lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits, and make money off of them. Well, my wife commented on the post, well, where's the money? Because I'd love to see the money.
I asked you to show me a copy of the checks so I can go get them, because the money helps with a bunch of kids.
So is that part of the basis of the original recall? Because that's the first thing I heard. I was at an event and they said, hey, and what they said was, your boy Andrew is suing everybody, and they used the word frivolous. I said, I haven't seen him. My words were, I haven't seen him buy a mansion or a new car, so I don't know.
No, and that's one of the things. And remember, a lot of these things are about messaging, right? It's easy to peg me as a bully. I'm a big guy. You know, maybe some people don't see it that way, but you know, it's easy to peg me as a bully, especially if you haven't had a conversation with me. Let me just go back to the frivolous. Just prove it. You know what I mean? Like, I can present the lawsuits because they're all public record. As a matter of fact, I'll upload the documents. And I'll talk briefly. I'm going to tell you what I really think this is. I really think this is about an effort for people not to be held accountable and not to have transparency.
That's right.
And to be able to continue to sweep things under the rug.
That's right.
Because you won't hear, even though it's posted online on YouTube, you won't hear them talk about one of the lawsuits. And one of the lawsuits was against Hartnell College. And the reality, and I'll share this with you. Yes, plug your ears. I'm just, you know, I think it's important to be transparent. And I don't usually go out on a huge thing and say, hey, look at what I'm doing. Hey, you know, I don't usually do that. And my wife says I should have, so that way people at least know it's happening. But I'll share with you that what happened many, many years ago is somebody gave me some information. As a matter of fact, the mayor of Salinas, Kimberly Craig, passed on some information to me and said, you got to talk to this person. They have concerns about something that happened at Hartnell, and they know that you're working on something. And so then I said, well, that doesn't seem right. So I requested some records on that. And what that involved was the head of student services. It's kind of like the head of their ASB, their student leadership for Hartnell College. The accusation was pretty bad. It was that he was sleeping with students, that he was providing them alcohol, that he'd sleep with them and then have other students walk in on them. And I'm like, no, this can't be true. And so I requested a copy of that investigative report. And people are going to say, well, that's a personnel file. You can't have that. But thank goodness for the California legislature who made it a public record when there's inappropriate sexual behavior, especially of people really high up in positions. And so, you know, this guy is tasked with, you know, helping students get housing, providing food, giving them jobs. Imagine what a position of power. And despite the fact that people may say, well, these people are overage, they're 18. You're going to tell me that a 56-year-old man who can determine extra food or support or income for these people does not have an interesting power dynamic and is not a predator? I'm sorry. As a father of four, I see that a little bit different than most people do. I would consider it. So I asked for those records. Hartnell denied them. And in the process of providing me some records, they actually disclosed a whole mess of stuff, which will never go public because they made the mistake of disclosing investigative reports of sexual harassment, student IDs, social security numbers, the most craziest thing ever. And of course I told them, hey, you guys gave me stuff that you shouldn't have given me. But what they gave me in those documents showed students crying out for help to this person who was tasked with investigating sexual harassment, saying, please investigate. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is sad. This guy's tasked with investigating issues of Title IX, yet there's accusations of inappropriate behavior. So I ended up finding a lawyer after many years because I felt strongly that the public has a right to know and students should be protected. Like, if this is happening, you got to address it. Just give me one minute and I'll answer your questions. So I did file a lawsuit. It's called a public interest lawsuit. So I believe strongly in transparency in public records. And so I found out through reading and Googling that the court can order the college to release those records if they're unwilling to follow the law on their own. I reached out to those board members for a meeting. I reached out to Aurelio, who was the president at the time. He agreed to meet, but I showed up and then the superintendent said, oh, he's not going to be joining us at the meeting. He couldn't make it. And so I reached out to them. I followed all the steps of communication, of emails, and then finally when a lawyer I met with, Chad, said, yeah, you're right. They should release these records. So we filed a lawsuit. The Monterey County Superior Judge agreed. Hartnell, those are public records. Give Mr. Sandoval the investigative reports. What did Hartnell do? I think they let their ego get in the way. So they filed an appeal to the state appellate court in Sacramento. And so I'm like, this is just crazy. You know, why are they trying to hide this and sweep this under the rug? Well, my lawyer represented me at the state appellate court in front of a 3-panel judge, which I uploaded the proceedings onto YouTube so you can see the proceedings of it. And the 3-judge appellate court said, give Mr. Sandoval the records. So they spent all these years fighting it, because some of these things take years, and appealing it, and they appealed it and they lost. So Hartnell was forced to release these records that they were trying to sweep under the rug, which did confirm, which I'll post online, that he did in fact sleep with students, that he did in fact sleep with students and allow other students to walk in on them.
Is he still there?
Yes.
He's still there. Not only is he still there, not only that, there's actually a text message where a student says that he followed him into the restroom and pulled out his private part. And so I said, maybe the board doesn't know this. Maybe that was a decision, a backdoor deal. So I sent them this and I said, please do the right thing for students. He's still there. So I said, it's okay. You made a mistake, you can terminate him. What did they do? They renewed his contract and he got a raise. So those are the kind of, and I get it, Hartnell's a beloved institution.
One hand washes the other.
My daughter has taken classes there, my wife has taken classes. Oh, we got a teacher here and graduates here, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how beloved you are, you still have to be accountable. So, one more second. So I'll publish those, but at the end of the day, those are the kind of lawsuits that I filed, and I have made 0 cents and $0. That's why I tell Tyler, I'm telling him now that publish if you have evidence of this. The only one who made money is the attorney for Hartnell College. He made a lot of money. and my attorney made money off of that. I think they paid him $60,000. Then Tyler went on to say that we split the money. Oh, gosh. If I'm suing people for public records and transparency, you think I'm going to do shady stuff like that? I won't have integrity and I won't have my word. And so that's what I've done. And like I said, let's lay it all on the table. I'll gladly have this kind of meeting. We can invite all TV stations, but at least have that discussion. But I'm willing to bet you that he won't have that conversation. Anyways, I think I had a quick question, Bill?
Even as a trustee in 2006, as elected official at Hartnell College, making decisions there, I requested how much money we were spending defending Dr. Blow in the sexual harassment cases. And I had to get my own attorney, Michael guy from passed away last year from Monterey, to get the information from Hartnell. I had to file a public information request. They weren't going to give me information.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, Sophia, and then I'll address that.
So my question is, I have been writing some stuff down, and I wanted to like comment on what you said regarding people slanderous and it being an opinion for some people. When it does become slanderous is when it starts affecting you and your position, and obviously everything Tyler, Aurelio, everybody that has said bad things about you, it has affected you to the point where it's personal and it's business. That is a slanderous act, and that is held accountable in the eyes of the law. You just can't be doing that. What they're doing on social media is very much called, that old word, culture cancel. And that's what they're trying to do with you with this new movement that's taking place here in Salinas, where they're utilizing social media to share with people or sway people on their decisions on what they should do when it comes to voting.
It's a Trumpism, just put it out there.
I'm not gonna get into Trump or anything like that because this has to do with Andrew, okay? At the end of the day, because this is happening here in Salinas, I messaged Tyler and I asked him, can you please provide me the information that you're putting out there? Because it does become slanderous. You could be held accountable, you know that, right? You do have good top attorneys in San Francisco, the best, that are part of your recall. They don't even respond to emails, calls, nothing. They don't respond at all. So everybody's ghost. So when it comes to your recall and you bringing up the Heart Now thing, I'm thinking, why did Kimberly ask you if she knew what was going on? Why did she go do it herself, being that she's a mayor? Why did she ask you to do it? Did she do it to set you up so that this way it could be like what you're going through? Because for me, you sit on a council with other people. Does not anybody support you in your efforts? I mean, obviously not, because you're here by yourself. Your constituents, none of them are here to support you, to say what you're going through is okay. But what I'm trying to say is, who's there to back up what you're saying to be true and correct outside of him? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is all the proof? Like, where's your proof? If they're gonna bring you up, here's a file of everything Andrew did. Where is all that? It's just words. You know what I mean? So for me, in hearing what Kimberly took to you, why did she ask you? Why did she ask Tony? Why did she ask Orlando? Why did she ask Anthony? Why did she ask Steve? Why did she ask, I don't know who that female chick is, she's never there. But why didn't she ask any of those other ones?
So I'm just gonna share my opinion, and actually one of the reasons I got into government, it's really hard to do the right thing for a lot of people. And you have to put yourself out there, and sometimes you stand alone.
Yeah.
And the reality is, there's retaliation. If you speak up too loud, if you ask too many questions, so often residents won't do it because they're afraid of retaliation. I'm going to share with you, not just Kimberly and you know, some things I was reluctant to share, but let's just put it all out there. You know, I'm really passionate about transparency. So if somebody tells me they made a backroom deal, even if, you know, they're not my friend and I'm not particularly fond of them, I'm probably going to help them because I believe in transparency. And so one day, Supervisor Luis Alejo posted that the county violated the Brown Act. And so that's an act that prevents government agencies, council members, and supervisors from doing backdoor deals. And so, of course, my initial reaction is, well, I'm knowledgeable about that. I could help address that. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, Luis, I can send a cure and correct letter, basically a cease and desist. It's a demand letter, but it's actually a threat. And what the threat is, if you don't follow the law and be transparent, I will sue you. Okay? So, what do you think his response was? Yes! Exclamation point. And so I'm like, okay, I will back you up in that endeavor. Although you're a supervisor elected to represent your area, you know, maybe you need that additional support. So that's what I did. I sent a demand letter to the county. Luis Alejo later messages me and says, oh, good job, Andrew. And you can read it for yourself, I'll post it. He says something like, your letter forced them to have a closed session item. That's a private meeting to discuss this because this could be potential litigation. You try to cover it up. And then, so he said, great. He said, I was able to convince our county council and Supervisor Phillips to change their position. And so what they did is they redid that entire meeting publicly, and that decision that they had made behind closed doors was now in front of all these union workers for the hospitality industry. And guess what? They showed up in force, the unions, the public showed up, and the original decision that they made behind closed doors, they didn't make it public. They completely changed it, and they supported working families in Salinas. Now, yay! So there is an article about that. And so in that, Luis says he found an opinion from the Attorney General to support that. And so I was so excited. These people probably never know that my letter, my demand, my threat was able to help overturn a decision and bring light to it. But it's the right thing to do. As a matter of fact, one of my, I love the Brown Act. I even asked how we can amend it to make it more transparent. In government, unfortunately, I can't get a state official to somehow respond to me. But at the end of our thread on Messenger, Alejo said, "You're the Brown Act expert!" exclamation point. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't more elected officials just push and do the right thing? They're in the minority. Guess what? They got to get reelected.
Yeah.
Oh, don't.
And they don't want to be the.
They don't want to be too much. So that's why I think a lot of people don't step up. There's people who have reached out to me in Greenfield about a teacher touching their granddaughter inappropriately. So I made the records request, and I had to threaten them too. Lo and behold, it turns out that teacher was investigated for sexual assault, for contact with a minor, and so I pushed the district. They gave me those records, which I'll publish online also. Guess what? It was found to be true. Anybody want to guess if he's still there or not? He's still there. He's still there, but at least for that girl or for other little girls there's more eyes on him. And I mean, just because districts don't do the right thing, for me, it's a weird thing. And sometimes I tell my wife, "Oh, I wish I could turn this off. Why do I have to push to like address this issue and this issue and but I can't. It's like if it's wrong, it's wrong." And so yes, thank you, thank you, Wes. Yes.
I was telling Andrew, and I won't share the person's name, but I was recently at a political function where I got to speak to somebody who is going to be on the council, and I said, "I'm so glad that Andrew's still going to be there." They were kind of shocked, and I said, "Because he's an excavator, because he will dig and dig and dig and dig until he finds out the truth." And that's encouraging to the community that backdoor deals are going to be hard to make with Andrew there. And I
But
mean
you know
that.
what, Lupe, the sad thing is that they don't want people like him.
Right.
They don't want
That's
things
why this is
uncovered.
happening.
They don't want things uncovered.
Of course, that's why this is
And
happening.
he's the only one on the council that will do that. Everybody else is comfortable with that.
Yeah.
No,
They're okay
I
with that.
disagree with that, with you,
Yeah.
respectfully.
Well,
But I'm
I mean,
glad that-
it is what it
Yeah,
is,
it is
because
true.
But
nobody else
Andrew
has stepped
is-
up.
They feel it's a status quo. It's
Andrew
it's so
is doing
normalized,
that, and
wrong
we'll
or
see how
right,
it goes.
it's normalized.
Yeah, but I'm entitled to have my.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, you are,
No.
yeah, you
And
are.
I disagree with that, not all the council, not the current council.
Yeah.
And
So
Like talking and doing are two different things.
yeah, I think it's also it's difficult for people to do the right thing. That's what I'll tell you. But I'd be glad to have a discussion with anybody. You know, one of my concerns, and I'm not going to name the council members, but one of the persons who they walked up to while they were trying to get signatures happened to be one of my friends. So he engaged in a conversation with the person for 10, 15 minutes. He said, "Well, why are you doing this?" He goes, "Well, the roads aren't getting fixed. Well, you know, they're not doing things for the community. Well, we need to get these people out." He asked him where he was from. He said, "Well, I'm from LA." He goes, "Well, what are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, this is so important. That's why I'm here." And so he ended up asking him, "Well, who's going to replace him if you kick him out? Like, do you have somebody in mind?" And what they told him is, well, the new council, he named 2 council members and said, well, they'll get to appoint somebody. Well, so what? They want to take the duly elected person who won the seat, voted by the voters.
We just went through
Yes,
that.
we just went through that. And they want to pick somebody for this area. And my year is 2-year terms. And I'll say this, if they are going to be successful in this nonsense effort, I will say this. I want them all to commit that because it is a 2-year term, that they will go out to an election. And not just pick somebody who's going to align with them. Now, they're going to say, well, you appointed somebody to fill Councilmember McShane's seat, and you're a hypocrite. Well, that term only had 6 months left.
Yeah.
If we would have called a special election, it would have taken us 60 days. It would have cost the voters over $250,000 so you can have a representative for 3 months. What decisions were going to be impacted? And at the end of the day, originally the nominee that took the role, Jesus Valenzuela, I did not originally. That was not my first pick. And actually, and this is where people don't understand. me, the mayor, even McShane had so many agreements and so many good things we've worked on. As a matter of fact, I don't remember like the young lady's name, but she was an attorney or worked for the district attorney's office. And so I nominated her, seconded by the mayor. So despite what people think that we are just a cohesive, one mindset people, if they look at the votes, Councilmember Rocha has voted against me. Actually, I shouldn't say against me. They voted differently on the issues. Councilmember Barrera has voted in a different direction. Osornio has voted in a different direction. Sometimes I was on the same side as the mayor and McShane and other people disagreement. That's called democracy.
Yeah.
You have different opinions and it's okay to disagree. And then together you come up with the solution and the majority wins. So, you know, I'm an elected official, so people say I could talk forever, but I want to answer any questions that you have. But more importantly, you know, my message to the people on social media, I'm looking right at you, is my phone number is 837-8228. There's been some concerns that I'm a bully and that you won't meet with me, and it's fine. We can invite the media, we can have an open forum. I know there's a lady who runs one of the groups, and I won't name her for fear that they'll call me a bully, but I will also encourage them. They want to have a podcast, they want to have anything. But I will share one thing with you. What makes me sad this entire 2 years I've been in term is that there's only been messages sent out. I remember inviting the mayor and McShane to a community forum on public safety. You will never, and I guarantee this, you won't ever see town halls with multiple council members who have disagreements. I would tell you, I would love to have a sit down with Mayor Kimberly Craig, Councilmember McShane, and the entire community and really discuss what's affecting our city. You know, I know that residents are saying, finally we have a pro-police city council. Make no mistake, it's not that the city council, or I'll speak for myself, I'm not going to speak for them. We want more police officers. We also want more mental health counselors. We currently have fully funded positions in the police department. We currently have tons of positions open. We have supported them in incentives, new contract, and negotiations. We've supported them in every item the last 2 years. That since I've been on council, every request they've ever made. As a matter of fact, people don't know this. Councilmember Barrera, Osornio, and I asked the chief. We said, Chief Felice, what do you need so we can help you? You bring what you need to the council, and we'll back you up 100%. And that's exactly how we led. What led us to passing the incentives. Those items were not determined by the city council. The chief made his best recommendation, and we approved it. We didn't alter those numbers. So I just want the community to say, will you dig a little bit deeper? Will you have a real conversation? Look, I don't want to go too much into social media. Unfortunately, the messaging is going to be there. Angel, you cannot stop the messaging. I could say, this is not true. I could say, prove it, and they'll be like, well, how about this? You're a bully. And then, well, what happened to the evidence? Is nobody questioning the evidence? So I can't prove things that didn't happen. I can't give you evidence because there's nothing there. So they should bring that forward. But anyways, that's my little spill. And go ahead.
So, we're all at a disadvantage. You're at a disadvantage because they have money and we don't. And I'm sorry, that's a big disadvantage. You can say money doesn't matter, and I know we've seen elections where the big money doesn't win, but in this round of elections, money won. So they're going after you. They have, the reason why somebody from LA was down here is we have them money to pay them. So, what are we gonna do about money?
Back when I got elected, I would hear the police officers needing more money. Our public works, we only talk about public safety, but how about our public works? How about our librarians, our librarian one, who are still making 18 bucks an hour? I mean, our secretaries, all this, and I'm thinking, I saw the compensation studies, which by the way, I had to request multiple times from our whole city to get that information. And because there's this messaging going around that, for example, our police department is paid the lowest in the entire county. Okay, well, I will publish the compensation studies. That's not the case. But how about everybody? So I said, well, I can't cut this piece of pie, I can't make it bigger. Where else can I identify new money to help fund police, fire, street repair, sidewalk, parks, rec, everything. So we were at a presentation for how to generate revenue or what solutions, what can we do to bring more revenue to Salinas? Obviously, supporting businesses like I've done is one of them. And I thought, man, what's an untapped resource? And one of the consultants said, well, you could pass a new tax measure on the residents. Really? Look, I am the representative for the city of Salinas, and I think that the city hasn't done a good job of being stewards of taxpayer money. We've made progress, we've made more transparency, we're on a good path, but I think that there hasn't been enough communication. So I got this crazy idea. I remember hearing from a long, somebody who passed already, Mr. Crescencio Padilla. And what he proposed was a tax on agriculture. And so, yes, we all have, yes. So that's what I said. I said there's no way anybody would consider, well, people would consider taxing ag. So what I did is I talked to some police officers. I said, hey, I have a question for you. Would you support a tax on ag? Oh, that's the third rail of politics. They're like, but we do give them services. We do provide fire and police. So then I'm like, okay, well that's one. And I spoke to the fire department, some folks in the fire department. Hey, would you support a tax on ag? You know, we could use it for public safety or we could use it for roads. Yes, but there's never been the political will. That means there hasn't been the support from the council. But yeah, that'd be great. We need more resources, we need more firefighters, we need everything. So I'm like, okay, great. There's only one piece missing. Let me ask somebody from agriculture. So, by chance, somebody from agriculture reached out to me because they wanted to talk about some of their water issues, and that's a whole other conversation about water in Salinas. You should all know that we have seawater intrusion. Google that. The seawater is coming in on the corner of Davis, meaning our water supply will be affected, but nobody really talks about that, but we are starting to. So I met with somebody, and his name is Chris Bunn, okay? Yes, Chris Bunn. I knew his father. I used to attend youth group services with him at the Episcopalian Church. But anyways, so we're talking, and he goes, oh, okay, this is great. I said, I have one more question for you. What do you think if I was to propose a tax on ag? And he goes, so I expected him to say, no. He didn't say that. He said, well, what are you going to use the money for? And I said, well, I was thinking we could use it for police, fire, and infrastructure. He said, well, if you can promise that that money will go to infrastructure, then I could support that. The reason he could support it is because the same ag trucks that ruin our roads also get damaged by the same roads they ruin. Yeah. So it costs them money. So they're upset that, Sanborn and Davis and William, not Davis, Ross Abbott is messed up because it damages their trucks. I think Councilmember McShane chose that street to be repaired this last time. So I said, oh, really, you'll support it? He goes, well, as long as it goes to infrastructure. And I thought, well, that's fine. The residents care about infrastructure, and maybe that'll free up some more money for police and fire, or, just do some kind of compromise. And so at a community meeting like this, I shared with the group. It was actually a District 3 resident community when they were upset. We appointed Councilmember Valenzuela in McShane's place, and that video's on YouTube. Thank you, Wes. And so I brought that up, and boy, I just figured, well, let's be transparent. Well, at a following meeting, unfortunately, Chris Bunn showed up and said, Councilmember Sandoval, I never said that, and I would never say that. And then I thought, man, I really don't like being called a liar because I stand by what I say. Then I felt bad for him, and I said, well, if I said that publicly and somebody called them on it and they have a friend in ag, what do you mean you support a tax on us? But that decision is going to come before the next council. Or is it? Because ag has spent over almost $1 million on this election. So, now you tell me, would you prefer, and by the way, let me tell you this. You know what I proposed? And people will say, oh no, ag will leave if you tax them. They ain't going nowhere.
Where's it going?
No, but I proposed like a penny a box. Give us a nickel a box, a penny, but that's all I proposed. Well, one day I get a phone call from somebody who works in ag and they say, hey, what's this, $1 a box you want from every box? I'm like, what? So I sent them the video, which is online, and I'll make sure and post that too, where I propose a penny a tax. I'm just trying to make some progress for our residents. I will not vote or support any new tax measure on the residents of Salinas. They pay enough. You know, enough is enough. Yeah, it's not, I don't know what president, no new taxes, but it's true. No new taxes. You know, I think it's time for ag to pay their fair share.
Yes.
Now, I invite Chris Bunn to the conversation. I invite them to a community meeting as well. I stand by that statement. He may have to backtrack, that's on him. But I think that those factors have led to this recall. I'm going to just touch one more. I know I talked forever. There's a lot. I should have shared a lot of this ahead of time. You know, I was assigned to be a member of the Rodeo Oversight Committee. Oh Lord. Look, I got 4 kids right here. In the background, don't show them on camera, I'll get in trouble, Russ. And we love the rodeo. I mean, they don't go to the kiddie area anymore. But, you know, whatever, it's sad for me as a dad. But I volunteered at the rodeo, I think 3 days. But I just started noticing some irregularities and stuff, and people would reach out to me about access issues and how much they were being charged, and I found out another group was only being charged a little bit. And that is city property. We only charge them $1 a year. So they are stewards of that property, and don't get me wrong, they help many nonprofit groups. They donate a lot of money, but they also have a deal with the city council they made a long, long time ago. So I found out that we have an oversight committee that they have to present us with how much they charge residents. And also I found out that they pay us ticket surcharges. So in exchange for them getting the facilities for $1 a year, they have to pay us a ticket surcharge. So like $1.50 for every ticket to every event they sell at the rodeo. That means concerts, that means monster trucks, that means all that. In exchange, the old city council made a deal that they get free services, including free police, free fire, free public works. There's no limits to it. Don't get me wrong, I want our community to be safe. But when I have seniors calling me, and my wife will testify to this, calling me at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they say, Councilmember Sandoval, the police told me to call you because you're the reason that we don't have officers. Oh. So I had to make a call to the chief of police and said, Chief, you know, can you please reach out to these seniors? I recognize our police shortages, and by the way, I know all our residents do not expect when they get they call the police for a noise complaint to be responded to right away. I'm not asking that. I've done ride-alongs with police officers. I know their workload, but at least put them in a queue so that when there is time, we can address those lower priority areas. So I started asking questions, and I met with the attorney for the rodeo. His name is Tim Baldwin, very nice, ethical man. And we started having this discussion, and he goes, yeah, Councilmember Sandoval, I know you're bringing up these issues, and I reviewed the contract, which is publicly available, and you're right, we're supposed to be paying ticket surcharges. But somebody told us we don't have to pay them. So then my next question is, well, in writing or someone just told you? It turns out that they've owed us probably about 10 years of ticket surcharges. And those ticket surcharges are to offset the cost of our police and fire. So that way, you know, we can serve our residents too, not just Rodeo Week or monster trucks, which by the way is not a free event, but we still provide services to them. So he goes, so we decided that we're going to make progress on some of the items. The next meeting we have with him, he says, Councilmember Sandoval, I just want to share with you that the Rodeo Association is prepared to pay the city whatever's within the statutory legal limits of the law. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? You know, Google, statutory legal limits. He goes, well, what it means is they're willing to pay us 4 years of what they owe us. And I said, we're partners. Like, you do you know, we'll do our part, that way it's fair. And then he gives me a call and he says, or I don't know if it was a meeting or a phone call, he says, hey, Councilmember, we received a bill from the police department, and they keep sending us this bill. It's for $250,000 of police services. He says, what do you think about that? And I said, huh?
Pay your bill.
No. I said, you don't have to pay that bill. As a matter of fact, I'll support you in not paying that bill. And that may seem odd to you, but that's the deal that council made with them. So we need to honor our word. So what did I say? Well, I think it's time we amend our contract to put some groundwork. We want you to benefit the community, but at the same time, we also have a responsibility to the rest of our area. And so then I was curious. They're like, well, you know, we helped this group and this group and this group. And I said, you know, I had some people reach out to me. And they said that they used to be part of that group. And they used to get funding and volunteering, but they don't anymore. And they couldn't figure out why. And so I asked, do you have a process on how you select the groups? Or do you have a process on how much you give to each group based on volunteers or hours? No, they didn't. So what that means for nonprofit groups, and like I said, a lot of what I've tried to do is make it fair for the community to have access and the same opportunities. What that led to is they said that that's one of their long-term goals, to develop a system so it's fair and people know what to expect. And so increasing access to their facilities, I found out one organization paid $600 to have a gala there. If you go, and before Wes publishes this video, and you ask them, I want to have a quinceañera in the rodeo room. Angel, how much is that going to cost us?
$3,000.
Thousands of dollars. So how can one political organization get it for $600 when a quinceañera, a school dance, and maybe the schools get a discount? But those are the things that I think people are very upset with, that we're bringing to light. And at the end of the day, let me tell you, people may say, well, why are you into this? And why are you into that? Well, first, the rodeo should be accessible to everybody for the same price. You know, we could be having concerts. Oh, talking too much. Thank you, honey. We could be having concerts, events, weekly, monthly. How come we don't? Do we have equal access for all the promoters? And I'm going to share this last piece. I promise this will be the last thing I say if there are questions. The first person who ever mentioned the word recall was a person named David Drew. I had no idea who David Drew was. I think this was about 40 weeks ago. And he said, recalling Andrew Sandoval. He doesn't do anything, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. And now I'll have to share the image. It's on social media. And so I reached out to him. I said, what's going on? David, I'd like to meet with you. What's happening? No response. Lo and behold, not only is he, I think, an honorary member of the Rodeo Association, but he's also the promoter who does the concerts.
Yep.
Who was supposed to pay us those ticket surcharges? Who now has to pay us ticket surcharges? So, open invitation to you, David Drew. I'd love to have a conversation and address any of your concerns. And I hope it's a community forum so the community can participate as well. All right, I'm done, but last question, or questions if you have any?
No, just, I mean, Spiral's kind of a Rotary small little group for our fundraiser at the rodeo ground. We paid fully, we paid $4,500 to use the same. We had to pay the police to be the people. We paid everything. The only thing we refused to pay was the parking that was over by the, they said that we had to pay for that. We said, but we're not using it. And you can shut the gate, and they didn't. So people used it, like, we're like, that's your problem, not ours. We're not paying it, but we paid full price. We were 100% back to the community. Our fundraiser is 100%. None of us make any money off of it. None of us, we work our asses off, and we paid them the full price.
Well, I'll tell you who got it for $660. The rodeo room. It's a group called the Salinas Valley Leadership Group.
Yeah.
It's a political action committee. And it has to do with politics. A lot of the ones they try to fund. Now, why would a political group get it for $600 and an organization like Rotary get $4,500?
And Bridget Matthews' husband is in my Rotary Club.
Yes. And so I'm going to, sorry, but 2 people reached out to me who wanted to have free events in the rodeo in the last 6 months. And they said, oh, well, you're looking into that? Can you look into this? And they showed me an email. And I did not get a copy of the email. I don't think they want to share with me, but we can ask the rodeo to provide it if they're willing to. And he asked to use the rodeo facilities. I'm not sure if they meant the whole facilities for a free community event for the indigenous community. Sorry if I expose who you are, but he was told he was going to be charged $20,000. Now, do all these organizations, including the ones Angel probably helps out, do they get charged $20,000 for their free events? Probably not. By the way, the state of California investigated that organization and found out that they weren't reporting expenditures and money they collected and bills, and fined them money in violation of state election laws. But
Seahawks are ahead, just so everybody knows.
Seahawks are ahead.
Andrew, it doesn't have to, just a brief answer is okay. Can you please make the correlation between funding the police department and the fact that the Rodeo Association or whatever it is hasn't paid what they're supposed to pay in the last 10 years? Do you have a dollar amount on how much that is?
I don't have a dollar amount. The only thing I have, and I've requested the bill from our city manager and city attorney for this year, because the Rodeo shared with me that it was $250,000 in police services. I don't have a number. I don't know if they've tracked it. I don't know what it is. But I will share with you that the Rodeo shared that the sheriff's department is willing to partner to provide security for that in exchange for use of the facilities for training. I went to King City Fair, and there was like 5 jurisdictions supporting providing security. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. We should do that here. So anyways, I think a lot of these questions, by the way, I encourage you to either ask for the documentation yourself, and you don't have to ask it for me. I encourage you to call our city attorney. His name is Chris Callahan. And I encourage you to ask Renee Mendez, our city manager. I encourage you to ask Tim Baldwin, one of the directors for the Rodeo, directly these questions. And then ask for proof. That way we can not have to be like he said, she said, nonsense. There's something in front of you. Hopefully, the Rodeo will have a public meeting also. Oh, by the way, the Rodeo Oversight Committee meetings are not public. But remember when I talked about the Brown Act and Supervisor Luis Alejo? It hit me that our meetings should be public. So last week, I sent the same Attorney General's opinion to our attorney and our city manager, requesting that those Oversight Committee meetings become public so the public can participate as well. So January, you're going to see that the new council gets to pick who sits on these committees.
Oh, that's good.
Not you.
It's probably not good for me. I know a lot of the Rodeo board members or members were at a lot of these fundraisers, and I'm almost willing to bet the community that that the new council will not approve me to continue being on the oversight committee. Because the reality is people don't like oversight. But it's in the contract, we're supposed to have 2 meetings a year. And a big shout out to Mrs. Bennett, somebody who used to work for the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Donald Rumsfeld, helps me review all the contracts. And so she's actually the person who found the money that they owed us.
Wow.
Last question, Sophia.
Okay, so regarding the Rodeo, and you were saying that they were looking into the statute of limitations on how much they were gonna pay or what they were gonna pay because so much time had passed because someone told them they didn't have to pay. In the end, they're in breach of their original contract from not paying for whatever length of time. So how does that statute of limitation come into play if they stopped paying the surcharges for these events because that becomes a breach of contract?
So you're right, it's a breach of contract, but if you remember, one of the beginning conversations I had is we have conversations, I like to have conversations with people and then hopefully they rectify it. The Rodeo has taken steps since our last oversight committee, and I requested the notes and deliverables from that meeting so we can publicize those as well. But the goal is not, hold them in breach of contract, but to ask them to
Why
do the
not?
well, because well, in my opinion, I'd rather have them continue and benefit the community and just do the right thing and correct their mistakes. That's where I'm at. Now,
That's
some people.
enabling them. That's enabling foul behavior. You're letting them breach a contract?
Well then, you know what, that is something for this new council. I'll bring it up to the council. Let's see if the council supports that. I understand so not all decisions about negotiations come before the city council, okay? There are some things that the city manager is tasked with or the city attorney is tasked with. So that agreement, whether to pay 4 years, that did not come before the council. But at the next council meeting, I will bring up you're concerned that they should pay what is owed, and we'll make sure and follow that out. So, I want to thank everybody for coming out here, and like I said, to the community, don't take my word for it. Reach out to the city attorney and city manager, Rodale. Reach out to Councilmember McShane. Ask him to have a meeting with us too. Mayor Kimberly Craig, sorry, Mayor. And just have a community forum, and I hope the community gets more involved, and hopefully they won't cut this into little pieces that is convenient for them. Tyler, please take the time to meet with me. It could be in front of the media, it could be in front of my residents, but I don't think it's right that you will cost, or whoever decides to sign this will cost the taxpayers almost $275,000 to call a special election. And if you do, just to recall me, and if you do to elect somebody, it'll cost another $250,000, $275,000. Money that could be spent, police, fire, rec center.
That's right.
Damn potholes.
Yeah.
Next edition potholes. I'll tell you what I really think about them. Thank you, everybody.